All right, so let's look at the zeros of the function that's given here, the following function right here. And the graph we can see in figure 3.18. And we'll notice that, that there are three different zeros here. There's a zero, and based on where it's crossing the x-axis. So we can see from the graph that we have a zero at x equals -4, a 0 at x equals -2, and a 0 at x equals 5. These are the three locations where the function is crossing or at least touching the x-axis. And we can find this algebraically. We could actually find this algebraically by figuring out, by definition, if it's crossing the x-axis, we just set the function equal just setting this function equal to 0. And you'll notice that if we have three different products equal to 0, we can set each product equal to 0. So we would have x equals 5 from this right here. And I'll use different colors to show where I'm looking here. And then from here, we would have, set that equal to 0. And we would have x equals -2 from this. And then lastly, we would have from this right here, x plus 4 equals 0. And that gives us x equals -4. So as you can see, that's those are the three the x-intercepts, which gives us the zeros of our function. And that's how we get the word 0 based on where the function is equal to 0, where it crosses the x-axis, another way of thinking of it. And now getting into the multiplicity. So now we understand what the 0 is. It's where the function is equal to 0, what x values will give us the function equal to 0, and where it crosses or touches the x-axis. Now the multiplicity has to do with the power of each of these zeros. So as you can see, from x equals 5, if we backtrack, we can see that that has a square. That tells us the multiplicity. So let's use a different color here. So this, and there's a 1 here, if there's no number written there, it's just to the 1 power. And that gives us the multiplicity. So that's how we have a multiplicity of 2 for 5, 3 for -2, and 1 for -4, as you can see for each of these. And that will tell us something about our graph, our actual graph, if we look at it. So notice that if we have a multiplicity that is odd, these two are odd multiplicities. If you have an odd multiplicity, then you'll notice locating at the 0, it will cross the x-axis. Notice it's crossing the x-axis. It's going above the x-axis and then below the x-axis. And then at -2, we have a multiplicity that's also odd. It will go below the x-axis and then above the x-axis, so it crosses. But then when you have an even multiplicity, when the multiplicity is even, it will just touch the x-axis. So it doesn't have to be 2, but just any even number, 2, 4, 6, 8, it will just touch the x-axis. So it will go down and it'll touch it and then it'll come back up. It will not actually cross it. So that's those are some pieces of information you should know about the multiplicity of a function. Thinking of it algebraically down here, looking at the actual function, and then looking at it graphically like up here. You should now understand the idea of zeros and the multiplicity of your zeros and how that will, how to look at each of those. All right, let me know if you have any concerns about what I've mentioned. I'll be more than happy to help.